Hey guys, how's it going? Quickly kind of talk about some changes I've made to the car. So I installed a VLSD from an old Legacy into the car before that Pikes Peak International Raceway open lap day. So I was testing out that setup, and then pretty much after installing my rear rotors and brake pads, I decided to test out the VLSD and see how it's holding up and if it did hold up. And unfortunately, it gave out. It turned pretty much into an open diff. So trying to cut out all the bullshit, pretty much decided to swap in a KAAZ and put back in my stock differential carrier, because it just seems like it's in better shape anyway. So as you can see, I still gotta mount the bearing onto the KAAZ and then put all the internals back into the differential carrier. I got sort of the bearing on there, but I didn't want to go too far. I'd rather just wait until I get my tool that's going to help me like really hammer it in there, or press it in sorta. And then I got the rain gear on there, and then I noticed some differences because I pulled out both diffs out of the car to look at, and both are the same thickness when it comes to the open diff one. It's going to be solid looking right here, and then the VLSD equipped one is going to be not solid. It's going to actually have a split going through here because it's two pieces, but they're about the same thickness. But the difference with the KAAZ is that the KAAZ is actually thicker right here on top. So I don't know exactly how that's going to affect things. I'm probably going to have to mess around with the shims, but I mean, I got shims from 2 different carriers to work with. So hopefully I can get that set up correctly and we don't have any issues. This KAAZ is meant for an R160 differential housing, which we have 2 of, and they're pretty much identical. So I took off both rain gears as well to make sure if there's any differences, and there really wasn't any difference that I can tell from both the rain gears. It's just I chose to stick with the original differential that came with this car because it has way less miles. So I'll see you guys in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and Loctite these bolts and then torque them down and try to figure out what the torque is for that, and I'll see you guys in a minute. So I've already gone ahead and I'm gonna take this out because it's not gonna fit in there until I grind down some nubs, and we'll kind of talk about that. So I've gone ahead and already tightened down the bolts. That's gonna be a pain for you guys if you don't have a good vise or anything, so that way you can actually torque it down to the foot-pounds that it needs to be at, which is around 98, I believe, from what I've read. And then also you're going to need to press on these bearings because the bearings don't come with this unit, or they don't come pressed on here. So you have to buy some nice Subaru bearings. I just bought these. These are just NTN bearings from Subaru. And they come with the bearing and the bearing braces, which you're gonna have to take out the other ones just to make everything uniform. Take these out by using a little pry bar behind there and just kind of working it over and over until it kind of wiggles out and falls out, and then put in the other one and kind of hammer all around it with a rubber mallet until it finally goes all the way down in seats. So for this, I don't have a bearing press, so I had to do this a very ghetto way. I had to use, what I had to do is I had to cut off a bearing off of the old VLSD, and I'll kind of show you what I did. So this is another method you can do if you don't have a press. So I kind of cobbled together this little setup. I didn't have anything to really elevate the LSD, because once you kind of put on one of the bearings on the other side, it's going to hang pretty low, and you don't want to be hammering on the other side, the other bearing on, and then you're crushing the other one underneath. So I had this to kind of elevate it off the ground, so the bottom bearing ain't touching the ground. And here's the old bearing from the VLSD, and I removed the actual bearing outer shell part, so you only have like the inner diameter piece. And I used this, and I flipped it over and put it right on top. So I'll kind of bring this over there and show you guys exactly what I mean. And you don't want to use a rubber mallet. Trust me, a rubber mallet is going to take forever. The best way to do it is just using a real hammer, because you're getting more solid hits, and if that makes any sense. So here's the diameter of it, and it'll go like this, and it'll meet with this inner diameter, same piece right there, which is what you want. So that way it doesn't touch, you know, so that way it doesn't touch, you're not hammering on this part where the bearing, you know, the little bearing sleeve, and you're only hammering on what would be this part. And then definitely not the inside of the actual LSD, but just right here. And it, as you can tell, it fits right there. But you're gonna kind of start off, of course, with the bearing all the way up here. And then what I kind of cobbled together is like this big piece right here that I put on top. And then I put this, which is like magnetic, this basically on top, so I have something to hammer on, and I just kind of hold it in my other hand and I just hammer on top of it pretty hard. And yeah, I drove it all the way through very easily compared to what I was doing earlier. But that is how I did it, and I did it on both sides like that to drive this in. And you want to make sure, because this part's going to stick out from the LSD, is going to stick up above the bearing a little bit, because you want this bearing to get all the way seated, and you'll feel it when it stops. And you can see it. So if you don't know, just look at the reference of the one that you just pulled out, the stock one, and see how low it's seated on there. Because it has a little stopping point, because it will stop because it's, you know, it meets the surface and it's flush, and the same thing with the other side. So now that both of those bearings are on, your bolts are tightened, your rain gear is on there from this one, you're pretty much just taking this, unbolting these bolts. I highly recommend having some kind of impact. I have this electronic impact that's pretty good. It zap out those bolts, and then your rain gear right here, or ring gear, will fall right down. And you just grab that one, put it onto here, and then bolt it in and tighten it down. And then the worst part is trying to get this back in. So I was trying for a while to see if I could get it in without having to shave down these nubs that people talk about. And then I realized there are these two nubs are probably the main reason why I can't get it off. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to get something, recommend like something small like a Dremel, and then cut off this, cut off this little nub right here and grind down the nubs, because they can't really slide over that. So this is, you know, a while later. I am waiting today for the little meter to come in to check the backlash of the LSD to make sure everything's good. So far, everything has been, in terms of at least the gear pattern, markings and stuff like that, it's pretty good. It's pretty spot on right now. And that's not to say that you guys don't need to do this, and that if you buy a KAAZ or whatever, that you're gonna be good to go right out the box. I wouldn't say that. Everything can be slightly different. There can be different tolerances between vehicles sometimes, and depending on what brand you're going with. So I would still always check the backlash and the gear pattern. So I'm gonna show you how to do that real quick. And I'm sorry for this video being very like choppy and pushed together, and probably see me wear like a different shirt and shit. But I really wanted to explain this because this is a good moment to, I guess, kind of show you guys how to do something that I learned too recently. So it's not like I had this knowledge beforehand. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up this camera, and I apologize if it is a little crappy to see under here, because I got the car kind of ready to go right off the bat. Okay, so don't pay attention to one of the axles being kind of in already. But that was just me getting it prepped for whenever I do have to throw this back in. So, yeah. Okay. So, a gear pattern test, or whatever it's called, is very important. This is going to show where the contact points are, where the pinion gear is meeting the ring gear. The pinion gear is the one that's back there. That hopefully you guys didn't mess with, because you do not need to unbolt that out or anything like that. The only thing that should come out is the actual diff. And then the rain gear goes onto the LSD, and yeah, you guys probably saw that earlier in the video. So to do a gear contact test or pattern test or whatever it's called, you're gonna need something to mark the gear, the ring gear with. And what a lot of people use, there's a really good one by AC Delco. It's a yellow gear marking compound. On Amazon you can get. I was gonna order that, but it wasn't gonna get here for like a bit, and I'm kind of in a rush because I have a track day pretty soon. So what I just used is just some Hobby Lobby oil-based paint. A lot of people might be freaking out because I'm doing this, but I was actually told by a few people out there that you can use this. It will do the job, and the gear is kind of curved. So this part right here, this top part that you're seeing, that is going to be the concaved part. That is the cruise gear, or the cruise side, I believe, something like that. And then the underside of that, right here, that's the convex, that is going to be the drive side. So you're going to mark both of those, and you're just going to select a little portion, as many gears as you want to use. I'm using I did about, what, like 3 of them or 4. And mark them, and what you're going to do is you're going to paint both of those evenly across. Make sure they got a good covering. Don't glop it on there. Just get a nice amount on your brush and brush the whole thing across. Nice clean streak across where it's covering the entire tooth, back and front. Yeah, front side and back side, like I mentioned, because you're going to look for both the contact points on on the concave side and the convex side to see where your pinion gear is marking it, and where it's coming in contact with it. Because if it's way out of whack, then you're gonna have to probably take it to the shop or adjust the shims and all the other stuff. So I've gone ahead, I marked it. As you can see, it's already been checked. Look how perfect that is, straight across contact. What you don't want is it to be like, let's just say only this inside part towards the inside of the car is only marked. It's not even halfway marked, it's just all the pressure on that side, or it's all only up here on the top. What you want is to be somewhere around the middle, or at least more than halfway. And so that's what we got. We actually have a perfect marking for the cruise side. And then what you're going to want to do is also, make sure that the drive side is good. And as you can see, the same thing on the drive side right here. It's marked all the way across, almost. No, actually, yeah, all the way across. It's pretty clean, the contact points. So we're good. This is pretty much exactly like stock. So this was almost basically a drop-in perfect fit for this thing. And so when you do paint it, you're gonna roll this up, turn it, and let it pass through the pinion gear, and then go back. And you're basically going to just go rotate back and forth, back and forth, back and forth through the pinion gear, so it gets both sides of the gear. And then whichever side you're going to bring it back, and then you're going to check. So we're doing good. Like, look at that. The marking points on that are really good. So yeah, and that's for both sides are really good. But that's just one of the tests, and that's an important one. But this other one's also going to be important, which I'm still waiting for the meter to get here. And that's just going to check the backlash. And what the backlash basically is the dead point. So when you spin the front part where the drive shaft is, you're going to notice that there's a slight delay before it actually turns its gear. So it's basically that space before it engages in the tooth. So you don't want to have it. You don't want it to be snug where once you turn it, it actually turns exactly with this gear. You want there needs to be some slack in there. And I'll kind of show you that. So let me go ahead and try to turn the drive axle side. And you're going to notice that it's going to wiggle. So, sorry. See, you hear that noise? I'm turning the drive axle, and there's this slight slop in there. So there's a slight delay before it engages. And that's what you're going to measure. That's the backlash. That's like the little bit of give that it has before it actually engages. Okay, so I've got my little backlash gauge, or whatever you want to call it. I got it mounted up. There's always a magnetic box mount that you just flip the switch and it turns the magnet on. And then you adjust your arms so that way you can get a good touch with the needle onto Let me shine some light for you guys so you can get a nice come on, focus, so you can get at least a nice contact with the tooth. Make sure your gauge is zeroed out, and the range that this needs to be within is going to be 0.004 to 0.008. So as long as we're not hitting that 10 right there, as long as we're below that, we're fine. And I already gone ahead and done this. I already know what the measurement is. We're hitting at 7 to 8, so that's well within spec. So that's good to know. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of demonstrate. So how you want to do this is, once you got the contact point set up right there, what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold the axle right here, or where the axle, where the drive shaft hooks up. Sorry, you're gonna hold this as still as you can. You're not gonna let that rotate. You're gonna hold that still, and then you're going to try to spin the ring gear right here, the diff. Since I have the axle attached on that side, I'm just going to go ahead and spin the axle, and I'm going to spin in the direction that my needle is on. So I need to spin it down since I have it contacting that bottom portion, and then just kind of measure the play that the gears have. So I kind of explained that earlier, that what we're basically doing is just trying to measure how much give this has, because there's going to be a little bit of slack, or slop in there, where, it has a little wiggle room, you know what I mean? So that's what we're measuring. That's what backlash is. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that for you guys. I do apologize if you can't see the meter, but heck, I already did this already, so yeah, bear with me. So if I messed up and you see it jump past whatever the number is, that's probably because I accidentally moved the drive shaft. But pretty much, yep. Shit. Spun the drive shaft. Yep. Yep. Getting around 0.8 and below. And I would just say solid 0.8. Hasn't gotten above that at all. If anything, it's probably actually less than 8. But that's just kind of around what it's getting. But that's pretty much it. Everything's within spec. I didn't need to... Oh, sorry. I got lucky, so I didn't need to really change out anything. Everything just kind of was a plug and play kind of deal. Didn't need to make any adjustments. The diff is all good to go, so I'm just going to go ahead and take that backlash gauge off, and then I'm going to... put the cover on with the new gasket, and then get this thing filled up, mount it back up and filled with some fluids, and then go for an actual real drive with it. This diff is a Super Q version, so it does not need a break-in period. You can simply go. But I would still, take it a little easy. Do a little drive before you go. Just hit up a major event. Everything is good to go. I'm just gonna I'm gonna wipe down the ring gear, because it does have still like acrylic paint on there, or that paint on there, and that just comes right off with a rag. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that, and I'll see you guys later, because I don't think I'm gonna film the test drive at all. I apologize for the loud cabin noise. I am testing out the LSD right now. I'm going for a drive, make sure I don't hear anything like grinding or any kind of giant, noises that may cause some concern. I do realize that an LSD will have some kind of noises, and I can kind of decipher what is a lockup type sound, where you can feel like hear it locking up or whatever, and what isn't. And so far everything's good. I'm just kind of taking it nice and easy. I did do a nice little turn on the roundabout to see how it felt like, and I'll kind of continue to do that within my neighborhood. Because we have plenty of little roundabouts and things like that to go around. So I'm just doing that right now, taking it easy. This doesn't require a break-in period, because this is the Super Q, but I still want to take it a little easy until I know if this thing is right or not. So far so good. So I'm going ahead and hit this little turn real quick, and hopefully the camera doesn't fall. Yep, I can definitely feel it on those turns. It just like pushes you through the turn. It's like I just kind of don't really have to turn as much on the steering wheel, and I just kind of can gas it through, if that makes any sense. I am trying to be kind of reserved on like what my thoughts are on it, because I don't want it to just be like, oh, it's just an LSD. But I mean, it's obviously going to be a lot different than the open diff, and the behavior is going to be a lot different, like black and white. So I'm not surprised if I am feeling a lot of differences right away. But I mean, I am getting some squeaky noises, but that is not from the diff. That's actually from my brakes, because I did replace the rear brakes with some G-lock pads. So I'm getting a lot more noise from the front and the rear pads now, especially after that track day. Really brought out a lot of feel it. And when it locks up, it's not really loud or anything. It just is very smooth engagement, and that's what you get with the Super Q if you do go that option, because of the coating that they put on it. And it's sort of like, I don't know if that makes any sense, it's kind of like smoothens it out, so that way when you do get the engagement. So I would recommend this one for street if you are concerned about a lot of noise. This one I haven't really felt any noise, but you can feel when it does engage. So that's enough for the test drive or whatever. You guys can't really tell what's going on because it's a video, so you're not gonna be able to see any differences just by me filming. So the ultimate actual test of this differential is going to be this Sunday at Pikes Peak International Raceway for a open lap day again. This is gonna be another practice before Grid Life, because Grid Life is next week, so this is gonna be awesome. To kind of get one last practice in before then. If I was able to get 107s before, with the help of my buddy Ryan and some advice from another guy named Paul, I have a feeling I'll be able to get a better time now with an actual LSD. Because I don't know when that VLSD went out, but regardless, hopefully we can get a better time. I hope we can get something better. At least we have a baseline to go off of, and it'll kind of let us know if this differential is actually doing some good and helping us power through the turns and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll see you guys then, and I'll have a track day video. It should be better this time. It's gonna be more of a vlog format. Hayden should be there this time, and then we also have, Grid Life next week as well, which I don't know when that video will be uploaded, but I will try to film a lot of content. So anyways, I'll see you guys next time.